Hey, Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, Mitch McConnell weighs in on the COVID-19 surge. Dozens of people are arrested while protesting the Attorney General. And see part 2 of my talk with Cash Daniel. All that and more is next on Hey, Kentucky. Welcome to Hey, Kentucky with LEX 18 Sports Director Keith Farmer. Keith, we saw a surge in Kentucky here yesterday for sure.
Yeah, disappointing to see for certain on so many different levels.
Yeah, and so let's get right into it. Governor Beshear says our actions over the next 30 days will determine if Kentucky will continue to be a leader in the fight against COVID-19. His comment came as he delivered troubling news yesterday that the Bluegrass had its second highest amount of new cases reported in a single day since the pandemic began. Meanwhile, Senator Mitch McConnell has been making stops around the state with words of warning that differ from those of President Trump.
Regretfully, my friends, is not over. You've seen the surge in Florida and Texas and Arizona, and yes, here in Kentucky.
McConnell also continues to push for people to mask up. Meanwhile, U of L researchers offer some hope, saying a coronavirus vaccine could be developed in record time thanks to 151 clinical trials currently being conducted worldwide. Keith, sometimes it is easy to fault Mitch McConnell on a lot of things, but I've been really impressed with how seriously he has taken this virus.
I have too, because he's been traveling through the entire state and he sounds like so far apart from where the president is right now, and the way that he is taking this much more seriously, and it is good to see. I mean, even if it is an election year, I'm glad that he's speaking out and being the leader that we need right now.
Yeah, people are definitely saying there's mixed messages. Mitch McConnell's made it clear he supports Dr. Fauci, he supports wearing a mask.
Yep.
Love it. All right, protests over COVID-19 restrictions and racial injustice continue to make headlines in Kentucky. The latest happened last night at the Louisville home of Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Dozens of people, including an NFL receiver and 2 reality TV stars, were arrested as they called on Cameron to charge 3 LMPD officers in connection with the death of Breonna Taylor. Cameron issued a statement denouncing the protests as an effort to escalate an already tense and divisive situation. Meanwhile, a fence will be built around the governor's mansion in Frankfort following protests there in the spring. Armed demonstrators crossed over barriers to stand on the front porch in protest of pandemic restrictions. Andy Beshear addressed the protest that same week, saying the group was inches from where he, the First Lady, and their 2 children were. Protesters later hung the governor in effigy on Capitol grounds. And Keith, while you can't go onto someone's private property like these protesters did at Daniel Cameron's house. However, the guy with the gun who hung the governor in effigy has 0 charges filed against him. All 87 of the protesters have felony charges.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. I mean, I don't think anybody should go onto somebody's personal space there, especially right up to their house. But something seems odd here when there were people carrying guns that were feet away from where the governor and his family were, and then there were peaceful protesters on another lawn, and it does look so much different.
It truly does. And if you hang someone in effigy, to me, that's terroristic threatening, but 101. So I don't know why there were no charges there.
No doubt. Yes.
As the Louisville Police Department continues to be in the spotlight, so now is an LMPD recruiting video, which has been used for the past 5 years.
We are proud to go where others will not.
Experts say the recruiting video promotes a warlike mentality and portrays police officers as warriors rather than public servants. The department has since removed it from its social media platforms. We've also learned about a Lexington connection involving the detective fired for his role in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. Brent Hankison spent 3 years with the Lexington Police Department before he resigned in 2002. While records of his time here are sparse, we know that Hankison's supervisor at the time recommended against his future reemployment. And Keith, I think when we're talking about what changes can be made, This is one of those things. If your direct supervising officer says, I don't think he should be rehired by another department, then don't rehire him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not fit enough to be in one police force, then why would he be able to just move on to another police force? And who knows now that he is off of Louisville's police force, who knows where he's going to go next?
Absolutely. That's some change that we can get behind, I would hope. All right, back in Frankfurt, some lawmakers are questioning the removal of the Capitol's Jefferson Davis statue, suggesting the governor hired the company involved as payback for a campaign contribution. Members of the Government Contract Review Committee discussed the $225,000 deal to remove the monument. A finance and administration official told them that he researched the companies, did not know about any possible campaign contributions, and that the governor was not involved in the decision. But the committee eventually voted to get the U.S. Attorney and Attorney General Daniel Cameron looped into the conversation. And Keith, they say this is not about removing the statue. It's just about where the money came from to remove it.
Well, we talked about it yesterday, right? We all have friends somewhere, and but they're saying he had no knowledge that this was who was being hired. I can't fault him here. I don't think. I mean, maybe it's coincidence that this happened, that it was somebody that contributed to his campaign.
Yeah, they found nothing yet. So, all right, now let's talk a little UK sports. Some observers are expressing doubts about the hopes for Kentucky football or any football in 2020. 24/7 Sports recently released its SEC preseason preview. A 13-person panel of college football reporters picked Kentucky to finish fourth in the SEC East, just a few votes ahead of South Carolina. There's a significant drop-off between the top tier that includes Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee, making Kentucky the best of the rest. As for other sports like volleyball, the SEC has announced that it is postponing the start of the season, along with soccer and cross country, through at least August 31st, in hopes of providing, quote, additional time to prepare for the safe return of competition. The delay will include exhibition and non-conference games. So that's not a huge delay in the season, Keith, but it is a delay, and still no decision yet from the SEC on football.
Well, the interesting part to me was that they met on Monday, all the athletic directors, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, and they said nothing about football. And then on Tuesday we get there, and all of a sudden we're postponing volleyball and cross country and soccer, and it makes you wonder, why wasn't there an announcement on football? Seems like that should also go too, but of course we all know it's the economic engine that keeps these universities going, and so I guess that's why they want to wait a little bit longer to see if they can make the season happen.
Yeah, and Sankey also mentioned something which I find, we've got to do it. He thought all the Power 5 conferences were going to kind of get together and do something together, but the Big Ten announces on its own, ACC announces on its own. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering how that's all going to shake down in the end. All right, before we go to break, we want to let you know that you can now see clips of Hey Kentucky on the LEX18 app on devices for your TV like Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Just download the LEX18 app, and when you open it, hit the back button to call up the main menu. You can see show clips from the current day or past airings. Up next on Hey Kentucky, part 2 of my interview with Cash Daniel, the former UK football star, talks about the uncertain fate of the game this season and what that means for players with NFL aspirations. Stay with us.